So this is an article in the Sydney Morning Herald, and it says that it talks about Assange being free. I was quite worried yesterday when I reported on him heading to Australia and then going on to an American overseas territory in the Northern Mariana Islands. I just don't get that, actually. America is constitutionally against the idea of colonies. America doesn't have colonies. In fact, the whole reason America tried to bankrupt Britain, and made a pretty good job of it actually, during the Second World War, was because it was determined to do away with British colonies. And this, they have these Northern Mariana Islands. They're American overseas territories. In what way are they different from colonies? Just asking. Anyway, that's it. I do want to say, and I know I've got a lot of American subscribers, so I'm probably, I was going to use a rather vulgar, what the hell, pissing in my own living room. But I have to say that America thought that it could do away with the British Empire and then replace it. And now America has found that it can't do it all. And if they hadn't driven Britain into that sort of penury, they might have had some sort of control over a world which is becoming increasingly uncontrolled. I'm not talking for empire. I am saying, though, that when Britain did have an empire, there was a lot less slavery in the world than there is now. The empire would have dwindled into a commonwealth anyway. It would have gone. But it was the precipitous change which has caused a lot of disruption in the world that didn't need to have happened. And America is there trying to deal with it all itself, not for the good of the world, for the good of America. And I have no objection to that. You should be on the side of your own country. But it's all falling apart. That was a catastrophic piece of spite on America. It's not done Britain any good either, but it's certainly not done America any good. It's showing up later when the people responsible are all dead, which is sort of a bit ironic that it's the grandchildren who are carrying the burden. Anyway, yeah, that's an entire aside. I wonder if I'm going to cut that out. I'll see, maybe not. Anyway, so Julian Assange has pleaded guilty in a US court in the Northern Mariana Islands under a deal allowing him to walk free. Now, the deal is that he shuts up and destroys the rest of his incriminating documents. So America has succeeded in shutting him up. And you must remember that. Now, I don't blame Assange for coming to that deal. He's had enough. I mean, the British have cooperated in this because they imprisoned him. And even imprisoning him, they put him in the highest security, most horrible jail in Britain. The jail that houses all the murderers and mass rapists and that sort of horrible person who aren't considered so mad that they have to go into a psychiatric institution. Belmarsh Prison. It's just a horrible place filled with thoroughly evil but sane people. And so you can tell that the British government were trying to force Assange into the situation he is now in. And this whole thing, I'm glad he's free, and I understand why he is free. And I don't like it, not because of him, but because of our two governments, Britain and America, and Sweden. Sweden too. I'm sorry, you don't get away with this either. And now I've had a lot of comments that the reason he was arrested in Sweden was on a rape allegation. Oh God, that's a non-monetization. Look, I'm sorry, this is a non-monetization video. All right. A rape allegation, and it's a very murky story. One of the women said she'd gone to bed with him, they'd had consensual sex, and then after she was asleep and he had sex with her again, and this was considered rape in Sweden. Now then it turned out that the police had sort of coerced her into saying that. After a while she withdrew that allegation. At first it was, well, I was only half asleep. And then the other thing was, well, I'm not entirely sure he actually did anything. I mean, that's why I'm not, I'm just making quick references, none of which are substantiated because the story changed so many times. So that's the problem there. And it appears that the Swedish government were just finding something so that they could arrest him. That's what the appearance is. And that's the story. So if you are that concerned about the original reason for Assange's arrest, there you have it. You can do a little bit of research of your own, of course. Anyway, so Assange entered the formal plea to a single charge in the Northern Mariana Islands, an American territory, remember, not a colony, in the Pacific. In return, he was sentenced to time already served and released to fly to his native Australia and be reunited with his family. You know, I didn't say this in yesterday's video, but I was really worried that they were going to arrest him when he got onto American territory, that they weren't going to keep their word. I was really worried about that. I didn't say anything. I thought, you know, why give people ideas? But he is back, and the other thing is the plane didn't crash or anything on the way there or back, so he'll live a quiet life for a while. But yeah, as with other governments known to do away with inconvenient people, I'm still not entirely sure about this poor guy's life. US officials were pursuing the 52-year-old over a huge disclosure of secret files in 2010, which they said put lives in danger. Maybe, but he was a journalist. There are many things journalists disclose. And sometimes it does put lives in danger, but it was also disclosing it put a lot of politicians in danger, and that's probably the truest reason for their pursuit of him. And they've got their way now, because he is staying quiet. After the hearing, Assange admitted a felony charge, conspiracy to obtain and disclose national defence information. He told the court that when he published the classified files leaked to him in 2010, he was a journalist and believed he would be protected by the First Amendment of the US Constitution, which covers freedom of the press, as it does. Yeah, well, you can see how governments can twist things when they want to. Okay, right. And after the sentencing, Assange's lawyer said WikiLeaks' work will continue, and Mr. Assange, I have no doubt, will be a continuing force for freedom of speech and transparency in government. I'm not sure he will be. I think he'll probably be told to stay quiet and you know, grow turnips or something. But he will be a rallying point, and that's why he might be still in danger. Oh yeah, here's the sexual assault. In 2010, he faced charges of rape and sexual assault in Sweden, which he denied. He spent 7 years hiding in Ecuador's embassy in London and claiming the Swedish case would lead him to be sent to the US, because he took asylum in Ecuador's embassy in London because the Swedes wanted him back, and he knew that if he was taken back to Sweden, they'd turn him straight over to America. He'd be dead by now. Yeah, and Swedish authorities dropped that case in 2019. said that too much time had passed. Yeah, maybe it was because they were just a little bit embarrassed about their behaviour. Right. Now, this is the Sydney Morning Herald, and this is the important bit. Assange will now dodge US election ugliness, media union boss says. So that's the real part of it. They wanted rid of Assange and this whole Assange issue because it was going to interfere with the election. The head of Australia's media union says Julian Assange's release from prison meant the WikiLeaks founder will avoid getting caught up in the ugliness of the US presidential election in November. Media, Entertainment and Arts Alliance President Karen Percy said the national organisation had been advocating for the release of Assange, a member of the union since 2007. Within an hour and a half, 2 hours, he'll be landing in Australia. It's really exciting. I think it's also really critical that this is happening now, and it now takes any heat out of the US electoral cycle that Julian's not going to get caught up in the ugliness. Percy told the online event run by the Free Assange group that while Assange's imminent return to Australia was thrilling, she worried about what this case meant for journalists across the globe. And at this point, I want to make the point that a lot of people are criticising women in the media, you know, that they're soft and soggy and migrants welcome and all that sort of nonsense. Yeah, there are many of those, you know, white guilt and all the rest of it. There are those. But there are women with a lot of good sense and a clear view of the situation as well. It's just the ones with the silly ideas they seem to get more traction, especially in the press. I did mention once there was this is just an aside. There was I don't even remember what it was, but it was a TV, some sort of a talk panel, and they had two complete nutcase women on the panel. I think Shogbamimu was one of them, the one with the hair like a plate of spaghetti. I've forgotten her name for the moment. I'll find a picture and you'll see what I mean if you don't know who I'm talking about. But they always get these nutcase women on. And it's just, there are plenty of women who don't think like that, but the press finds these more photogenic in a bad way. Anyway, Percy told the online event that it was, she worried about what this case meant for journalists. And absolutely, it's emboldened us to stand up and keep doing the work. But the fact that American laws, remember what I said about America not having colonies? Yeah, American laws reach all round the world. The fact that the US pursued this as a case of espionage and not journalism is very, very troubling indeed. And that's the main reason why I wanted to read this article to you. I can't read the rest because it's one of those ones where you've got to register with the newspaper, which I'm not going to do. Anyway, that's it. It is thing about journalism, and that's why I am making this video. As I said, even though I mentioned certain things which I'm just not even going to try monetizing it. I don't want to tussle with YouTube, and I want to get it out now instead of hanging around waiting for them to make decisions. The other platforms, of course, they would let me say what I wanted, and that's the other platforms are Rumble, BitChute and Minds. Okay. Right, well, that's the video. I hope that's informed you in some way. I'll see you next time. You can help my channel by clicking like, by subscribing, by clicking the notification bell, and by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels are in the description, also links to donation sites, but really the best way you can help me is simply by clicking like. Thank you.